Hi kids, once again we're not in my living room. I thought we'd visit our friends the bees this spring. And our bees live in big apartment buildings. But let's take a look at where they live because their living room is also their bedroom and their dining room, and they live all in the same place. So let's take a look here. What does a bee's living room look like? Get ready. It's really sticky, so I'm going to have to pry this loose. I'm not sure where I put the hive tool. Oh, here we go. Coming close. Bees live in all these frames. There's your beeswax. That build out the little comb that you see with all the cells. And in those cells, bees put pollen, and they put nectar, and they make a little mixture for the queen to come lay the eggs in. Then the babies get grown in these little cells, and we have nurse bees and guard bees and forager bees that go out and get more food. So I thought you might appreciate seeing a bee's living room. Let's put them back in where they're comfortable, and we'll head into my living room where I'm more comfortable, and we'll read a book about bees. There you go, kids. Hey kids, now we're back in my living room where I'm more comfortable. Now, I usually don't wear this veil in my living room, but I have a very important question to ask you. Are you a bee? Are any of you guys bees? Arissa, are you a bee? Dex, are you a bee? How about you, Gordon? No? Good. Paisley, are you a bee? No, I don't think you're a bee. So I'm just wondering if there might be any bees around. Gunner, I bet you're a bee. Peyton, how about you? Okay, you kids are always busy and they say busy as a bee, and I want to make sure that none of you get excited and sting me. But I can look out here now and see that none of you are bees. So I think I'll take this off. There we go. So now we're back in my living room, and we're going to read this book, Are You a Bee? Here we go. Are you a bee? Perhaps you are a honeybee. If so, your mother is a queen. She looks like this, and she lays eggs. She is a big bee. And we saw her living room and her bedroom and her dining room. Your life began inside one of her eggs. When you hatch, you are not a pretty sight. You are a larva. Your older sisters bring you food. Eat it and grow. Grow until you fill your cell. One of your older sisters puts a wax sealing on your cell. So this is a close-up of all those cells we saw. The queen lays her egg, a larva comes, and then a little bee starts to grow, and they cover her up and feed her. Inside your closed cell, you change a lot. When you are ready, chew a hole in the ceiling and climb out. Now you look like a bee, and we saw lots of those. You have a hairy body with 6 stripes, 6 legs, and 4 wings. You have 2 feelers on your head. You have a stinger. You are not alone. You have a few hundred brothers and thousands of sisters. So here they are, climbing out of a cell on one of those frames we just saw. And out there, where we were, there's probably 30 or 40,000 bees in each one of those hives. You live in a nest built by your older sisters. Your nest might be in a hollow tree. It might hang down from a branch. Most likely, it will be inside a hive. So over there's a beehive. You saw the ones we had were white and green. That's where bees live, in nature or in a beehive. Your brothers are drones. They don't do much. You know how brothers are. You and your sisters are workers. You do everything. You clean the nest, feed the larvae, take care of the queen, build new cells. You fan the nest with your wings to keep it cool in the summer. You guard the nest to keep out strange bees. Busy, busy, busy. So as we said out there are all kinds of bees. There's the queen, the guard bees, the forager bees, the nurse bees. Everybody's got a job. Leave the nest to fetch food from flowers. How will you know where to look? Your sisters will make up a dance to tell you. Watch the dance carefully. Don't worry, you'll understand it. You're a bee. There is sweet liquid in flowers. It's called nectar, and it's hidden deep inside. This is not a problem. You have a long tongue. You can reach it. You also have a special stomach to carry it in. You'll get pollen dust all over you. Scrape it off with your front legs and put it in the pollen baskets on your back legs. So that's why the bees are going in the flowers. They use their tongue to get the nectar, and they use their bodies to collect the pollen. Food and beverage for the bees. When you get home, your sisters will help you put the nectar and the pollen into storage cells. Mix some of the nectar and pollen to make bee bread. Leave the rest of the nectar to turn into honey. Bee bread is good to eat. So is honey. If you find a new patch of flowers, be sure to tell your sisters. How? Dance, of course. Do a little bee dance. And there's those cells on those frames that we saw, full of bees, nectar, pollen, and bee bread. More eggs hatch. More larvae turn into bees. The nest gets very crowded. What will happen next? The old queen, your mother, leaves. She takes you and a lot of your sisters with her. Deep in the nest, a royal larva is hatching. She is a different kind of cell, and she is fed rich food called royal jelly. When she becomes a bee, she is a young queen. She flies away and mates with drones from another nest so that she can lay eggs. When she flies home again, she will be the new queen. So when those beehives get crowded, the old queen will take a bunch of her sisters and daughters with her, and they will go out into the woods and find another nest, and a new queen will be born to keep the hive hopping. Do you know just last week, in those hives and my neighbor's Matthew's hives, we had 8 swarms of bees. We had bees popping everywhere. And in 1 week, we put them in new hives. We went from 5 hives to 11 hives. We got lots of bees right now. Fly with your sisters. Follow the old queen. Stay together. You are part of a swarm. When the queen stops, swarm around her. Now you must build a new nest. But where? Maybe the queen will send scout bees to find a good place, maybe in a tree or a trunk of a tree or on a branch. Or maybe a beekeeper will find you and take you all to an empty hive. Why is this beekeeper dressed like this? In case you get flustered and try to sting. There you go. And that's what we did last week. The bees swarmed. We got a basket and went out and knocked the swarm right into a basket and set up a new hive. However, If your mother looks a little like this, or this, or this, you are not a bee. You are. Anybody's mother out there look like that? If your mother looks like that, you are a human child. You do not have a hairy body with stripes on it. You do not have a long tongue. You do not have a stinger. It is very unlikely that you have hundreds of brothers and thousands of sisters. And take it from me, usually one or two brothers, one or two sisters, that's plenty. But there's a little human child right there. And she's holding a jar of honey. But you can do a lot of things that a bee can't do. You can still eat bread and honey, but you'll never have to fetch your food from flowers. Best of all, you don't have to be busy, busy, busy all day long. So there's a human child enjoying some honey. And there's so many facts and fun things to know about bees. Did you know bees are happy to live in a hive because the beekeeper has already built part of it for them? We have those frames. If the bees live in a tree, they have to build the whole thing themselves. Do you know that bees carry pollen, that food from flower to flower, on their furry bodies? The pollen from one flower rubs off onto the others and makes seeds, which will grow into new plants. That's why bees are so important, and we have to take care of them. They pollinate, make all our plants spread and grow, including our fruits and vegetables. Very important. The average bee, all the work, only makes 1.5 teaspoons of honey in her whole life. And here's something to know. A worker bee can sting only once, then it dies. So the reason I was dressed up like that was in case I got in a bee's way and got it flustered and excited, it might have stung me. But you'll notice I wasn't even wearing gloves. That's because if bees are busy and they're working and you don't really bother them, they won't sting you. Some people only wear that veil when they work with bees. So for you, it's important to know that bees are good, honeybees are good, and that they pollinate our plants and make food grow for us and beautiful flowers. And they also make honey, which is the only perfect food in the world. If you were on a desert island and you had enough honey, that's all you'd need. Honey is the perfect food. So there are some facts and some fun things to know about bees. And this spring, keep your eyes open for them. Stay out of their way, but you might look at them in the flowers, spreading the seeds, and then you might watch them go back to their nests and make more bees and breed bread and that sort of thing. And if you're really lucky, you might be able to find yourself sitting at your table with a big jar of honey in front of you, just like Winnie the Pooh. So maybe we'll read Winnie the Pooh one day. Who knows? But that's it today. It's glad to see you all, our little human children, and there are no bees among you. See you next week.